Hi guys, the fourth element of design that we're going to be looking at today is value. Value refers to the relative lightness or darkness of a surface. So if you see this first slide here, on the left square you have a gray small square inside a big white square. So if you compare the two tones, the gray square is darker than the white square. But on the right, you have two squares. One is black and it contains a gray square, the same tone as the one in the first square. But here, the gray is actually lighter compared to the black square that it's in. So when you speak about value, you speak about it in terms of relativity or comparing it to another value. Contrast refers to the difference in values. High contrast contributes to the clarity of the image. For example, you have an image here with high contrast, and it gives the image a gritty immediacy. This is actually a poster for the band Alice in Chains. And if you notice the text in the image, each word and shape is clearly defined, and the poster designer has done that intentionally to make the image seem confrontational and to give it the grit that it needs for a rock and roll band. Low contrast is used when the shapes are not of primary importance or when the image contains a subtle message. For example, over here, this, in contrast with the first image that you saw, is a much quieter image. It's more atmospheric because the contrasts are not very strong. And this also represents a world of pre-industrial times, showing horses and carriages, a quieter time. Value distribution refers to the proportion and the arrangement of lights and darks in a composition. So when you look at this particular image here, the light is focused around the characters. The rest of the scene is completely dark, and it has been used carefully to really increase emotional impact. And the darker values or tones increase a sense of mystery or dramatic tension. So the people standing by the bus shelter or commuters, they actually look like actors in a play on stage. Lightness suggests openness, optimism, and clarity. And that's what you can see in this particular image with the predominantly white spaces and the soft gray washes and fairly soft shadows as well. The lighter values at the bottom of the composition, they create an expansive effect, okay? And the darker values at the center here, they pull us inwards. Using a full range of values can make a two-dimensional shape look three-dimensional. So the first circle that you see is flat and it's empty, it has no tone, but through the addition of tone by adding a light source and creating all those tonal effects, the form actually becomes three-dimensional. This is actually a painting which has been made using oil on a panel of wood. And when you look at it, it looks very sculptural. So on the left and the extreme right, you have two colored panels of these figures. And in the center, you have two grayscale figures. And the manner in which they have been painted with a careful study of lights, middle tones, darks, and shadows, the forms actually look three-dimensional and they seem to be popping out of the wooden panel. The remarkable dimensionality created through the variations in value makes them look like a three-dimensional form. This is an example of atmospheric perspective, where the dark values in the front gradually fade into the background, creating an illusion of space. It's a fairly misty photograph or drawing. It's actually a drawing, sorry, a wood engraving. And it's a very atmospheric image because of the soft tones and the soft contrasts. Chiaroscuro refers to a technique where a primary light source is used to create 6 or more values and a dark background is added to create contrast. So this is an example of a painting where chiaroscuro has been incorporated. The highlighted areas, which have been clearly lit up, the faces of the figures and the hands or some parts of the body, are clearly delineated, and the darker shapes, on the other hand, dissolve into the background. So it creates a very dramatic and theatrical effect.